looking after the family and especially the eldest son. And I suppose later on looking after grandchildren. My elder sisters in the 30s were sent to a Methodist English school in the town. And of course, I joined them in the school. They were allowed to secure an education which was supposed to be very progressive at that stage in those early days, and was able to complete the education at the level known as the O levels now. And soon after that they got married, and they assumed their roles as traditional women in a home and the society. I enjoyed being the privilege of the oldest male child in the family. And there was no equality between the males and the females in home and in society at that time. For our traditional Chinese culture has determined very clearly the unequal roles and the chances open for the men and for the women. When I went to the United States for my college education in the mid-40s, I became personally aware that I'm a yellow dot in a sea of white faces. I was then a member of a minority community and was made to feel different. The civil rights struggles of the blacks were gaining strength. In that small college town in the middle of the United States, even in the 40s, the legislation was still in the statute books that no blacks were allowed on the streets at night. And only a couple of blacks were able to have a college education. I went to Boston University where Martin Luther King earned his degree for my own theological training. It was the height of the civil rights struggles, and I had seminary mates who participated in the sit-ins and the demonstrations, in the marches. And I saw their white allies bruised and maimed, clobbered by the police, and frightened by the police dogs. I vividly recall a white clergyman who suffered physically when he was supporting the blacks in their civil rights struggle. I know then what racial discrimination meant, and inequality given to people of different races by the white dominant majority. It was then when I served the ecumenical movement and was in the forefront of social justice issues and taught at Southern Methodist University, the original SMU by the way, in Dallas. I was committed to the feminist movement, for as teachers in the seminary, there's a code of conduct which we must abide. Our language must be politically correct, and we are to use, therefore, neutral gender terms. I quickly dropped projecting the image of God the Father exclusively. I can understand how important male chauvinism and how rampant it was. And I could also begin to understand how the Jewish culture, which impacted Judaism, is reflected in the Old Testament in a very strong way. It was our Jewish forefathers, mind you, who influenced the New Testament to continue to place women in no uncertain terms in the submissive role in church and in society. Racial domination, racial supremacy, male domination are so powerful that the colored people and the female can continue to submit themselves and do not see it as a problem. And I find this very much so, even now in Singapore. Language conveys our feelings, and sexist language perpetuates the image of male dominance in society, that God is the male, and we shudder when we hear anyone addressing Mother God. We're not talking about the gender of God, but God transcends gender, of course. God transcends race as well. We're talking about the masculine and feminine aspects of our lives. We're talking in Chinese tradition of yin and yang as equal and complementary. There's a curved line and not the straight line that divides the two portions, that distinguishes the yang for the male, which is black, and the yin for the female, which is white, or the other way around. And the black or the white God in each of them. Nothing is fully white or fully black. There is the maleness in God, and the characteristic of the maleness in God that we need to recognize. And we too, as God's creatures, have that same maleness or femaleness in different proportions or degrees in each one of us. We cannot have justice only in sexual orientation, but must include equality in race and gender. We have made gains in race and gender generally, and sexual orientation is said to be the last prejudice. And it seems to me that those who talk about equality cannot just talk about equality in race or gender or sexual orientation alone. We need to address all these three sectors in our life. All need to be free and equal in our relationships in the human community. Truly, we must first realize everyone is equal. No one is truly free in race, gender, or sexual orientation when anyone or our neighbor is still chained to it. Thank you.
Okay, I don't quite know what I'm doing here. When Susan invited me to be on the panel, I told her quite honestly, I don't really have very much to say about this topic. And she said, oh, please do it. And then I said, okay.